Welcome to the No Life Kings podcast. I'm Draves.
And I'm Case.
We're coming to you in issue 35. We're going to talk to you about the Falcon and Winter Soldier trailer and WandaVision. So, Case.
It's Marvel time.
Yeah. Our favorite topics, the Marvel universe.
You texted me all about man, I want that Snyder Cut. I want that Snyder Cut today. And I'm like, dude, chill.
I did text him about the Snyder Cut. That's true.
So
I admit this freely.
You admit you're a DC fan. It's fine. You can be a DC fan.
I did watch the ultimate cut of Batman vs. Superman over the weekend.
Did you break it up into 3 sittings like I did the first time I saw it? Because fucking 3 hours of that movie is hard to watch.
No, I didn't have to break it up. Oh, wait, no, I did. Yeah, I did.
Just remember, the key to the salvation of this world is the name Martha.
It's markedly better than the previous version. It's just still not good enough, but it is a better movie.
Oh, I agree that the Snyder Cut version of Batman vs. Superman fills in gaps that if those gaps didn't exist, make the movie insanely hard to watch. It's still a bad movie.
Correct.
So
with that covered, so we move on to the Marvel universe.
Let's talk about some more bad movies, or maybe good movies, or TV shows. I'm not sure what to call them. So
I don't know whether. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's an event that occurred this weekend that some people might have been watching. It's a sport where they throw footballs around and score touchdowns.
You're referring to the Superb Owl?
Yes, the Superb. Man, I would actually like it was named that. So the Super Bowl was this weekend. Oddly enough, we joke about it, but we're actually fans of football. But beside the point, they ran a new trailer, more in-depth trailer, I would say, of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I couldn't remember which order the names were in. So I had to pause
Falcon
there.
And Winter Soldier.
Yeah. Guess we're going to talk about it a little bit. I think the action scenes look good. I think is what you said. That was your big takeaway.
That was my big takeaway.
All right. I'm going to throw some stuff.
You see the shield. You see some good action scenes. You see, there's a football field scene, which I still can't figure out.
You see the shields. No kidding. You see the shield.
There's Falcon is in the trailer, as is Winter Soldier.
Is he still considered Winter Soldier?
Oh, I mean, that's what the title considers him.
I know. I'm just curious if they're going to be like, oh, no, you're Bucky. I don't know. I'm just saying, Winter Soldier is his Russian, hitman name.
I'm wondering if, they'll use it, that'll be, his cover to, get in with bad guys.
Maybe. Okay.
He'll be like, oh, what do you mean? I'm the Winter Soldier. I'm one of you. I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, check out this steel arm that changes colors. So, to go a little more...
His new one is vibranium.
That is true. But it's weird because in one scene it's still silver, and in another scene it's black. So I'm going to go in a little more detail here because you apparently did not pay attention to anything that happened in this trailer. Other than flashy, punchy.
Tension's not my thing.
You know, it was 1 minute, 59 seconds. I'm curious, did you break that up into 2 parts too?
I might have to.
That's why we make sure our podcasts are so short.
That's right.
So, all right, first off, the trailer, it starts off with them seeing a counselor, or, the equivalent of a counselor, a couples counselor, it seems like, trying to make them, not be so mean to each other. And actually ends with the staring contest between them in front of that same counselor. So apparently it's going to be like this, buddy copy type movie where they don't like each other, but over the time they'll start to love each other. They'll grow to like each other. I was listening to someone else talking about it, and the way it was explained to me, and I thought it was really good, is you ever have a friend, right? A really close friend you like hanging out with, but they also have a friend. And so sometimes you have to hang out with that other friend, but you really don't know them very well. Just every time you go to a bar, you go to an event, they might be around. And then that friend disappears in the middle, and you have to hang out with the other one that you really didn't know well. That's kind of how this is the vibe of this. It's you kind of lost your linchpin. If Captain America was what kept you guys, the only reason you know each other, and now he's gone, and now it's just your personalities clashing.
That's true, and they didn't actually like each other that much in Civil War.
No, they didn't. Yeah, so it's it's a very interesting. It might be fun, right? Some good comedy.
God, I forgot Falcon's name.
Sam Wilson. I also had the same problem. I've been Ronan has been reading a lot of Marvel books and trying to explain to a young person the difference between a costume and Hulk, because they'll be like, well, who's inside Hulk? I'm like, well, technically it's Bruce Banner that turns into the Hulk. He's like, oh, is Steve Rogers turned into Captain America? I'm like, well, technically he puts a costume on, but he always is Steve Rogers. It's really weird. I couldn't remember Falcon's name for the life of me for like a week, and I had to finally look it up. I'm like, oh, it's Sam Wilson. How could I not remember that? It's really weird.
And then he came up behind you. He's like, on your left.
Yes, and then I stuck my foot out and tripped him, because that's the kind of person I
am. So,
anyhow,
the thing is, Sam refuses to even move his seat up to accommodate legroom for Bucky in Civil War.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Right before the kiss to Sharon Carter, who also appears in this trailer. I wasn't paying attention.
Right, she is in the trailer.
Yes, she's comes out of nowhere. From what I've heard, after the fallout of Civil War, she had to go in hiding because she chose Captain America's side. So she's been like undercover. Yeah, so that's like a big reveal to them too, that because they haven't seen her since Civil War.
So then I wonder, because Captain America has his life with Peggy.
Right.
And he's now old.
Right.
Does this open up a Sharon Carter, Falcon, like Winter Soldier love triangle?
Or she falls in love with Captain America's baby, which would be her uncle. Which would be her cousin. Sharon Carter, Peggy Carter's daughter? Or niece? Yeah, so she could fall in love with a cousin who's Captain America. From the offspring of Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers.
But it'd be a first degree relation.
Sometimes your heart doesn't know.
That explains so much of the population.
This 100%. I hope they don't do a love triangle, by the way, because that'd be annoying.
Yeah.
We can have a female that isn't part of a love triangle. She can just be kick-ass motherfucker. And she does shit. She does. There's a scene with her kicking some ass.
I mean, that's also fine.
Yes.
But if she wants to end up in a love triangle, that is her prerogative.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
So we have them being snide to each other, right? As you said, and I think it's just building off the stuff we've seen. Then it cuts to an over voice of, hey, we shouldn't have heroes. Superheroes shouldn't exist. Blah, 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 blah. And it's revealed that Baron Zuma, what the heck is his name? Why is my brain not farting right now? Baron Zemo is back. The person who orchestrated the Civil War by pitting everyone against each other. And at the end, he tried to kill himself, but Black Panther stopped it by putting his hand between the gun and his head. So he's back, and it seems like he's going to try to collapse heroes in the world. I don't know how that works, but he has his famous comic book mask in the trailer, which is pretty dope because I like his mask. Baron Zemo? Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So he's back. And then the person I didn't know the name of, it might be Aaron Killman or Mickey. I'm not sure. Right after they show Zuma, they show her putting on another mask. And apparently this is the anti-flag or the anti-patriots. Is there a group in this show? Which I think it's building off of, there's a group of comic book characters called anti-flags. So, they're anti-Captain America. Racist? I don't know if they're racist. I think there's more anti-patriotism. Like, and feel that patriotism is like a downfall of society. So they're kind of like anarchists.
Yeah.
Type thing. But if you notice in the beginning of this trailer, there, by the way, I'm totally changing subjects in the middle of this conversation for some reason, but you'll notice that Bucky and Falcon don't have the shield in the airplane in the mission. And in the later mission, neither of them had the shield. So I believe that neither of them actually get the shield. And either the government made the decision that, they own it technically. Captain America just can't give it to anybody he wants. And so they're taking it from them. Or Falcon refuses it because he doesn't think he's worthy, or Winter Soldier refuses it, I don't think they're worthy. And so I'm wondering, and this is going to your football stadium, I'm wondering if they're getting U.S. Agent, which is a character in the comic books that's basically pretty strong dude. Actually, stronger than Captain America because apparently he can lift like 10 tons. But he's more violent and actually less patriotic. But, he doesn't start off that way. He starts off like kind of like a Captain America. Like he has the same kind of uniform on, but it's a little darker. If you look at the football shot, he's like a little darker, right? And he's kind of used by the government for a bit. So I think the football scene is him running out, the U.S. agent playing this Captain America, right? And maybe these anti-flag.
They gave him the shield because he's.
Well, I think he's paid by the government to be Captain America because they're same like they happened in First Avenger where they used Captain America as like as a stunt, to rah the home front to buy bonds. Well, maybe they're getting him to be the rah of whatever, they're trying to inspire here. Maybe join the army or just U.S. patriotism.
To your point, the shield's in some kind of case.
Yeah.
It's like in a glass case.
Right, in a museum or something. So yeah, I'm just curious if and maybe the anti-patriots or anti-flag group is actually against the U.S. agent in the hardcore. Captain America's patriotic, but he has morals, right? It's a moral patriotic. He's patriotic, but yet it's if our government, it's happened many times in the comic books. I think it was Nixon was president, actually. He became nomad because he didn't believe in the U.S. government anymore. He still believed in the morals that he was raised on, but he didn't believe in the government and what it was doing at the time. So I wonder if that's like this going to happen with the U.S. agents, just like a free agent, and whoever's in the government in the show is using him to promote something wrong, and maybe the anti-patriots are actually not bad people, even though they're trying to be sold as bad people. Kind of a fun twist. So I don't think Falcon or Winter Soldier have the shield at the start of the series, and maybe they have it and it gets taken away, right, or something like that, and they go rogue because this other person. I mean, this is all conjecture. Also, by the way, that football stadium is super tiny, so it looks like a high school stadium, which kind of confuses me.
Totally.
I was like, every time I look at it, I'm like, why are these at a high school stadium? There's a dope scene in the airplane. I don't know if it's the same airplane at the beginning where Falcon.
Chase,
yes.
Marvel has such a tight budget.
They couldn't get a football stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, they're being used for everything.
And also,
there's none available.
I do wonder this. Did COVID affect any of the shooting? Did they make changes because maybe certain locations weren't available or whatever?
I thought they were done shooting before COVID really came in. It's just been editing. Was what slowed down. I could be wrong though. I don't know. To tell the truth.
It was, I don't know.
Yeah. So there is a cool scene in the airplane, and then again, I know when this scene happens, but he folds his wings in front of him to make a shield, which I think is pretty dope. He does in the comic book a lot. But Sam Wilson, he's being shot at.
I think in one of the other movies.
Oh, maybe he does. I don't remember. I just like it.
I want to say he does it in Civil War, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. He maybe does. There's some. They fight the anti-patriots on top of some trucks. They fly around. I'm just trying to remember what else happened. Because it wasn't
that dope scene of him flying under the truck.
Yeah, that's when that's when they're fighting anti-patriots or anti-flag group, and I guess the one person on the beat knocked Winter Soldier off the top of the truck, and he's hanging from the back, and Falcon's flying next to the truck talking to him, and then another car comes, so he those ducks under the two trucks, which I will 100% admit every time I'm driving my Miata, when I'm next to a big semi truck, I'm always like, I wonder if I can go under there. And then I realized that I would die if I tried.
With that attitude, you will.
It's mostly because it happened. Smoking the Bandit does it to get away from the cops. In one of the might happen in Fast and Furious too. I'm not sure.
And you could tell like it's kind of like an odd couple thing because isn't like Falcon giving Bucky like a hard time?
Yeah,
when
yeah.
hanging
He's
out the
making
truck?
fun of him because he got beat up by the girl on top of the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the thing comes. Well, then it ends. Like I said, heads back in this like counselor room, and they're facing each other with their legs interlocked, which is a really strange way to sit and face someone, by the way. And they're like, she's talking, and they're kind of like staring at each other, and you're like, oh, they're working something out. And then eventually she just stops. She's like, are you guys having a staring contest? And then it's just like keeps on looking at their eyes, and then she like snaps. She's like, this fucking blink. Well, she didn't say fucking. So obviously they're very competitive too.
Yep.
And that's
Anything
basically
else from
that's most of the stuff I saw from the thing. The other things I noticed is that Batroc the Leaper is back apparently. If you don't remember him, he's from the beginning of Winter Soldier. Is that the one of the Captain America movies where he jumps out of the plane, lands on a boat, and he's going around fighting people, and he fights this guy that's like pretty good, like actually stands up to him and does a lot of kicks.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Apparently he's going to be back in it. Iron Patriot from Iron Man.
Rhodey?
Rhodey, yeah, Rhodey's going to be in it apparently. Don't know how big of a part he's going to have, but it also just might be, a kickoff for his show, the Armor Wars. So who knows if it's going to be a bigger part in this one or if it's just going to be like a tie-in between the two.
Yeah, and Armor Wars seems kind of interesting, sort of the implications of like all these armors existing and Tony Stark not being around.
Yeah, so that's probably what it's going to be. I think there's a comic called Iron Wars. I think I told you to buy the TP, the trade back of it, and check it out because I heard good things about it. I haven't read it myself, but that book is about Tony realizes that all these foreign countries and other people have got his tech, and supervillains got his tech, and so he writes a virus that he can but he has to touch the tech to implant the virus, and he goes around finding all this armor that was stolen from him and breaking it basically. And he actually lets this one person keep it, but and there's more to this story, of course, than that. But it's also the part where this is back when people thought he had a bodyguard versus Tony Stark, so there's a lot of interplay there. So I'm wondering if it's going to follow that same story, but now it's going to be Rhodey going around trying to get rid of all Tony's stuff, which could be fun because it's interesting because you have villains that use Tony stuff, like Dr. Doom has some of Tony's stuff. You have governments that have Tony stuff.
I guess we get Dr. Doom when we get the Fantastic Four.
Yes, probably. I wouldn't mind Dr. Doom not being tied to Fantastic Four because I think he'd be a cool villain in general, but I'm betting they'll tie them together because that's what they do.
Get the backstory for Dr. Doom in one of the shows and then just introduce him in Fantastic Four. I
would 100% just watch a series about Dr. Doom and how he actually becomes the ruler of Latveria. Because he is a freaking monarch, basically, of a country by force.
Start out that way, right?
No, he doesn't. But he goes to college with Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, right, and basically blows his face up during an experiment, which drives him crazy. I think he believes in the dark arts and stuff, and slowly takes over as part of his own little part of the world, and basically is allowed to control it, and nobody goes and helps and tries to stop him from controlling this country because there are people there, right? So, and then that's where his base is that he kind of spawns his evil plots from, and no one ever goes for him. It's really weird. Think about it.
You know what I could see? I could see in the MCU Latveria getting created by a Sokovian civil war.
Oh, yeah. That'd be cool. It's not an island then, but that's all right. It doesn't have to be an island. But yeah, I think I would, yeah. But would you want a villain introduced in a TV series for a movie? Or is that something that should just happen? Would have Loki been worse off if he wasn't in the movie as a villain versus start off a TV show and then went to the movies?
Question, I'm not sure.
I also wonder, would they even introduce a new character in the shows that they want in the movies? It seems it might be vice versa. Things that happen in people that get introduced in the movies can come to the shows, but I'd be surprised if they oh, we're going to introduce Ironheart in WandaVision, and then Ironheart's going to go and have her own movie, but we're not going to tell you about her origins unless you go and watch.
I mean, I
Disney
think after
Plus.
the whole Defenders debacle, I don't think there's going to be any crossovers.
Wait, which? Oh, Defenders. Yeah. Well, I mean,
You'll go from movie to TV, but you won't go from TV to movie.
Right. That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's what I'm thinking also. And so that's why I'm saying, like, you're not going to get a Doom TV series. You get Doom maybe in a movie first, and then a TV series about how he became who he was, right, or something like that.
What about a Doom video game? Do you think that would do well?
Am I playing Doom or am I fighting Doom? And are you making a joke of the video game called Doom?
I am making a joke of the video game called Doom.
So yeah, I don't know much more about Winter Soldier other than March 19th, which is 1 week between the last episode of WandaVision and the first episode of Winter Soldier. So in Falcon. So that's kind of cool that this is one little break in between the two. Assuming there aren't 10 episodes of WandaVision. Because there's rumors that there's a 10th episode recorded.
Moving on, Case.
Yes.
Let's talk about WandaVision.
WandaVision. So they're a boy band.
One Direction.
I only know one thing about One Direction, and that's that they're a boy band, really. That's all I know. I know more about BTS because my niece loves BTS. But that's...
One of our listeners corrected me that the boy band is actually not called One Division.
I know.
One Direction.
Yeah. Your one listener friend is a fool. It's just a fool. They're not wrong. No. It's not as fun as a joke.
Yes.
If I actually listen to, the true names.
He always wanted a reference on the podcast. Now he got one.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, WandaVision. So 5 episodes in, it's about halfway point. I think we're gonna just go pretty spoiler pretty quick. I'm assuming. So I've liked it so far. I think it's a different take on what we see in superheroes in MCU. It's not about punchy. It's more about mindfulness. Mindfulness is the right word. It's more of a mystery, I guess. It's a first real like mystery
thriller
story.
Mystery.
Yeah. Twin Peaks vibes to it, I would say. I really
good comparison.
Yeah, I think there's because even like the acting feels very Twin Peaksy, as in they know they're like the way they pull it off.
Like Stranger Things.
Yeah, well, Stranger Things is a little more serious. Where Twin Peaks, the act, like if you watch Twin Peaks, they act a little more over the top, ish.
In the sense that there's this parallel universe and like they're trying to like figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah, but even the characters themselves realize there's a parallel, like realize they're in a campiness. Like the camp they bring is the right amount of camp where like Stranger Things tries to be serious, where this is more like in the pocket, jokey, surreal, serious. I think there's every episode so far has been a different generation. You had the 50s. The first one was Lucy type, and then the second one was more like Bewitched, which had the second episode. I think had the great opening scene that was basically Bewitched's opening scene, but with Vision and Wanda. And I think they're making if you watch, there's little commentary about those time periods also if you're watching those, which is kind of interesting. But like the overview for people who don't know is WandaVision is basically kind of what I said it was going to be, predicted back way back ago, is show. It's about Wanda after Vision has died. She took over a small town and made it her ideal place for her and Vision to live out her fantasy life with him. And because of the technology she's using, it is broadcasting the life out to the real world if you have the right time period TV to capture those signals. And so every episode so far has been moving through different time periods. After episode 2, you actually learn more about the outside world, which we'll get into, and like how they're interacting with it. So that's basically the plot. You don't know why she's in this. You don't know if it's her causing this ideal lifestyle, and we can talk more about that when we get into spoilers, or if it's someone else putting her into this world. All you know is that she gets captured in this thing, and it's a mystery about who knows what and why. Is basically the series, and I've enjoyed it so far. I don't know how you felt overall before we start talking details.
So I was sort of getting sick of the whole Westview sort of like thing.
Yep.
Until I think, what is it, episode 3 or 4?
What happens?
Sort of like break with that. So I guess it's episode 4, right?
Episode 3 is the time when you actually get the exterior, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's the one where you actually learn about Rambo's daughter.
Yeah.
And stuff.
So the
Monica.
exterior.
Yeah.
The exterior stuff made me excited. I was getting bored with just like the internal stuff. So
well, I think they played that right. I think if I maybe it is 4. Maybe it was 4. Yeah, maybe it was number 4. But it was basically like
4.
Here's these 2 comically black and white ones. You're going to be somewhat, the mystery box is going to be there, but it's going to be very, very small. Then the third one is when they jumped to the 80s, or 70s, I guess, with the Brady Bunch. And that's when she had the twins. And then the fourth one is the outside world. Like the whole episode is basically the outside world discovering. Right. And then the fifth one is, we'll talk about more about. Well, I would say let's just go to spoilers right now. Because I don't think there's much for us to drop now on episodes 1, 2, and 3, right? Other than, basically what I've already spoiled. It was her and Vision in the, first in like a Lucy Ball type world, and then into like a Van Dyke / Bewitched world, and then 80s world. 70s world with Brady Bunch. The only other thing I want to say is I think Paul Bettany, he plays Vision.
Yeah.
I think his acting has been phenomenal throughout the whole series. Like, because he played Vision, you didn't really get his full range, and the ability he has to like be analytical, but also a little bit funny, and like even like when he got drunk, right? I use air quotes because it's Vision. He doesn't really get drunk, but he is drunk, and the way he acts drunk in that whole magic scene was like epic. How like they played off each other and stuff. And Paul Bettany's just been incredible, I think, with this range he's showing, because he also is realizing things aren't right at the same time, but also not understanding what's happening. But saying that now, I think we just go into the big things, right? The big thing is she has her twins. She had twins in the comics also. They also were fake twins in the comics that turned out she made them and then they disappear. Don't know if that's going to be true here. I think the other big thing is in episode 4, you realize that Monica, which is Rambo, and I think this is a big thing as well as we want to talk to you about, is Rambo's daughter, Monica, Captain Marvel's best friend is Rambo, is Monica's his daughter. You met her in Captain Marvel. In the starting episode 4, she returns from the snap.
Correct.
And
it's actually kind of cool because you never actually saw anybody like
materialize.
Yeah.
And it happened, she picked up right where her life left off. So like when she came back, she's walking, you saw other people reforming and people running into people, right?
Totally.
And stuff. So that does mean that they just returned. And so there were people in airplanes that are now falling from the sky.
I didn't even think about that.
There's people that could have been on a roller coaster, and now the coaster is like not where it was. So there's people in cars are going to rematerialize where that car was. So I'm actually
like somebody. What if like somebody poured like foundation where you were? You just like reanimate into like the concrete?
Right? Exactly. So there is like a fundamental loss here that like has been glanced over. And I think they actually were trying to make a call out to that, showing that they do return where they were. And look, they are running into other things as they appear. And so
there were also losses when people disappeared, right? So people disappeared, like maybe somebody was driving and like there was a passenger.
Right.
There's an accident, right? Like.
Yeah, so even though the snap returned the snappers away, there's still Thanos still killed a lot of people. It wasn't like everyone just came back. So it's probably an insane amount of people that died, and so the world's still going to be suffering from it, right? But the big thing is like apparently Rambo, Monica, she like comes back. She goes back to the sword, which is the space version of S.H.I.E.L.D. And this is the prediction that we basically had in episode 1 and 2, where we saw the sword emblems a lot of people were thinking that the Beehive guy was an AIM agent. I did not believe it was, and I was proved right because they show him in episode 4. But yeah, so Monica returns the sword, and this is where like you start. This is the episode that got you back into it, I guess. And this is like where she's grounded because she's been gone for 5 years. I actually understand most of this. I'm like, yeah, you've been gone for 5 years. You probably need some time to adjust. It's been 2 weeks since you returned. And so apparently this is taking 2 weeks after the snap returned when they discover Westview. So Monica goes there for missing persons, turns out to be a missing city, and then she gets sucked into the world because she touched this barrier. And so she gets put in the world for a bit until she gets kicked out because she has a conversation with Wanda where she's like, mentions her brother and how he died. And then she realized that she doesn't belong, Rambo's not supposed to be there, and she gets kicked out. So that insinuates that a little hint that maybe Wanda's the one under the control, or she's just being controlled and she had a part of sanity. Then we kind of move forward and you get like the whole agency of S.W.O.R.D. is there, and they try to send somebody in through the sewers, and it go, oh, there's a helicopter you saw in episode 2 or something like that. Turns out the helicopter is a drone that they sent in, and it got turned into a helicopter. They send a guy into the sewers, he gets turned into the beekeeper. There's a moment where Darcy from Thor is there, and she's the one that realizes that it's sending the signals up, so they're watching the episodes in real time. And that's when they realize that like things like, oh, when you send something through this barrier, it gets turned into the past, because they realize that Monica's bulletproof vest got turned into her pants, right? So it's not just a projection on your mind. It's actually physically changing the materials around you. So it's rebuilding things on the molecular level.
For sure.
I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, for some reason, as I was talking about that, I just remembered the scene whenever, I think it was at the end of episode 3 or 4, when she kicked Monica out. And then she looked at Vision, and you saw what Vision really was, and he was a walking corpse. Like he was this, it faded away from the imagery. You saw his walking corpse with the soul stone ripped out of his head. And I'm like, that's just kind of fucked up.
It's freaky.
Yeah, so then that happens, right? And they spend a bunch of time, like they realize like all the people, all the actors in her world, or all the people that used to live in Westview that someone's controlling, she's controlling someone, they don't know who yet. I think it's kind of interesting that Jimmy Woo, who is the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that was supposed to watch after Ant-Man in his movie, he is like, as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. is trying to talk about Wanda, he's all about like, here's all this horrible shit she's done. And he's like, yeah, but she also joined the Avengers and almost defeated Thanos and did this and this. And he's like, yeah, but then she blew this up against like this, like, they're trying to build her. I think they spend a lot of time, and this is getting back to what's happening to her, trying to make Wanda seem like she's the villain. And I have a feeling she's not the villain, but it's being,
to some extent, if like, I don't know, like it was stressful, she lost vision or whatever, like she had like a psychotic break, and that's what this whole thing is.
It could be. I think that's what they want you to think it's going to be. Because there's a scene too where they send in a drone that was around the time period I didn't know there was drones in the 70s, but apparently they sent a drone from the 70s in there and shoot her with a missile, or attempt to shoot her with a missile. And they realize, one, it doesn't show up in the TV series, so obviously she's controlling what's being seen from the outside world. But 2, she comes out and basically like threatens the leader of S.W.O.R.D. to be like, dude, like leave me alone or else look what I can do. And she controls all the people that aim, all the troops to aim their guns at him instead of her, right? And then she does something to the wall and walks back in. But the reason I'm thinking it's not just her breaking, I think Agnes is the missing piece here. Because Agnes, well, before we get, so yeah, we'll stop. I'll talk about Agnes. She's the only person, because after this happens, you think that Wanda's doing it. There's a scene where her character walks in, Agnes walks in, and she plays like the next door neighbor that always shows up with the right time for the right stuff. She walks in when the babies are crying, and she stops and says, oh, wait, am I acting this wrong? Do you want me to do another take? Right? And like, so she realizes that she's in this world, and she seems to have control of herself in this world. Where the other people, like Norm, is a guy that Vision works with, right?
Yeah.
Vision frees his mind for a moment, and he's like, he says, she is controlling me. She doesn't say Wanda. She says she, right? He only uses proverbs. He doesn't say names. and he's like suffering and in pain. And then he puts him back in, and he like just goes right back to being Norm. Where Agnes somehow did it herself. So I feel that Agnes is actually the one creating the world, and Wanda is defending it a little bit because she wants to be with Vision. Like, it's like one of those things like, I'm going to make this wonderful world for you to be in, and now you are going to want to defend this world that I put you in. So it's not, I don't think 100% Wanda. I think she's being manipulated by Agnes.
I can see that.
And I think that's why they're going overboard on this. Like, well, look, oh, she's evil. And it's going to be like, no. She was manipulated by this other person, which is Agnes. Because there's a scene in the last episode where the two kids grow instantaneously, right? Because I forget why. Yeah. Because something happened and they want to use a potty. I don't remember. Oh, they wanted a dog or something. And Vision's like, oh, you have to be 10. And then they grew to be 10. And then later, somehow their dog gets away. And Agnes finds the dog that has happened to eat poisonous flowers, like, and it's wrapped up and dead, to force this whole like, hey, can you bring people back to life, Wanda? Like, she says that to her, right? And Wanda's like, no, don't grow up, kids. Like, death is something that you need to accept, is the statement. So Wanda's kind of like saying, hey, we need to accept death, right? Even though that Vision's dead. Yeah. And she brought him back. So I think Agnes is manipulating her to do this, what she's doing. Because all these little like hints throughout it versus just being her completely. And by the way, her kids are Billy and Tommy, if anyone cares to know their names.
Like the scene with the birthday cake where you have like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like it's all those birthdays at once.
Dude, I was so confused when I first saw it. I'm like, why does their cake say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? But yeah, it was cool. Like, there's lots of tiny details, like the commercials, and every episode has a set of commercials, and they're really good. Even though I still don't know what logos means. There's a commercial in the 5th episode, I think, where it's like a paper towel commercial, and I'm still not sure how that ties in to the Marvel universe. And then I think, it's like the paper towels. It's like LOGOS, and like they're more absorbent towels.
LAGOS. The Lagos, Nigeria, is where she had the blow up in Civil War.
Okay.
Civil War. The one where like she accidentally blows up the Wakandan embassy. Basically.
Yeah, because she tries to hold in Crossbones as he's committing suicide, and she tries to move him out of the way. All right. So it was about cleaning up your mess, and so like maybe psychologically that's a mess, right?
That makes sense now.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I think I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I want to talk about other than the biggest reveal that maybe has the biggest change to the MCU. Is there anything else you want to talk about before the very last scene at the end of?
Let's do it.
All right. So just a little background. So Vision's realizing something's weird, right? And I still don't know if Vision's actually his own person in this, or if she's just like controlling him, because he seems to like be putting pieces together. So is she just like empowering his body and his mind is still working, and she just strong enough to do that? Anyhow, they're having this whole. I love this scene where like him and Wanda are arguing as the credits are rolling. It's a really good scene.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, he's like, "You're doing this, Wanda. Why are you doing this?" Type thing. And then the doorbell rings, and like in episodes before this, whenever Vision would start thinking something was wrong, something would happen to change the topic. And Wanda's like, "I didn't do that." And then like he's like, "Yes, you did." And blah, blah, blah. And then it rings again. She's like, "No, I'm not doing that." And then she walks over. She opens the door. And there's an actor there by the name of, what is his name? It's Quicksilver, but it's not the Quicksilver from the MCU. It's the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. And she embraces him like it's her brother who died in the MCU universe. What the fuck does that mean?
Your guess is as good as mine. But it seems like at least what's going on in her head is like a multiverse.
Well, yeah, so that's
area. It's not her head.
Did she pull? Because she said earlier she doesn't want to bring people back to life. She even said about her brother she didn't want to bring her back to life. So I don't even know if she brought him back. But did she pull Quicksilver, whose name I can't remember, Pedro, from a different dimension, which is the X-Men world, into her universe, right? or
Seemingly she did.
or could it be something so stupid, and this is a total like red herring, where there just happened to be someone in the town of Westview that she's making be her brother, so that she can feel that her brother is returned to her, and it's actually not the Quicksilver from the other dimension.
And they just use the same actor to throw us off.
Yeah, just to like throw that like wrench into the system. I mean, that would be really jerky of them, but that would also be kind of cool if that's what it was. I also realized he's not listed in as an actor in the episode. Well, at least right now, maybe. I don't know how IMDb updates its cast list. If it's like, because, Elizabeth Olsen's in all 9 episodes, but then if someone's showing up in an episode that hasn't aired and they want it to be a surprise, is it like somehow kept off of IMDb somehow? But yeah, so there is either it's showing that the X-Men universe exists as a parallel universe, and she pulled in Quicksilver from it. Or could this be that it's not the actual X-Men universe, it's, a different universe that Pedro just happened to grow up to look like him. So it could still be from a different dimension. It's just a very interesting, it could be groundbreaking for
The
MCU, but it could also be, not.
Could be misdirection.
Could be misdirection. And I have a feeling that they wouldn't do that, because I feel like a lot of people get super pissed off if that was what it was. It's just like, oh, no. This is just a person. Like if next episode they have a license up on the board that's like a picture of him, and it's like, oh, this is John Bob from New Jersey. He's lived in Westview for 3 years. By the way, if for those who are like to be observant to shows and overanalyze them, if you look at episode 4, I think it was 4, where they're putting up a bunch of those like, oh, this is, Norm from that lived here for this many years, and he's been blah, 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 and here's his family. There's like a notes section on the little board that they have, and in the notes it actually says, Vision unlocks his mind, and he says he's missing his family and that she's controlling him. And he's in pain, and it's like this episode before the episode he does it in. And also, there are people out there that read every line of everything. Oh, that's another thing. Agnes mentions her birthday, right? Her birthday is the same day that the witch trial started up in Massachusetts. So another hint that she could be a witch, which Agnes was a witch in the comics. So another hint to me that I think Agnes is actually the real true villain. I'm actually worried about this Quicksilver thing too, by the way. I don't want those mutants existing in the MCU. I want new mutants. Not like they can still be Cyclops, but I want their version of Cyclops. You know what I mean? I don't want something to happen where, like, when she ends this, whoever ends this thing that's happening in Westview, that all of a sudden the X-Men from the other realm have been merged into our realm, and they've always existed, because of something Wanda did. I don't think I'd like that. Mostly because I think
has done this misdirection thing before with the whole Mysterio storyline.
Oh, that's true. Let me think about that. I think it'd be cool. And then of course the whole Wanda thing is supposed to smoothly transfer into Doctor Strange multiverse. So this could be like, hey, there is a multiverse. She pulled someone over, and now you know what a multiverse is. So whenever we do it in Doctor Strange, your mind doesn't break. Right. So maybe it's just something like that. I'm really excited to see where it goes, in honesty. Because you also haven't seen Quicksilver use his powers. So you don't even know if it's like he can do anything. So if you're a betting man, what would you bet on for the cause of the situation? I know it's a lot of sit-ups and push-ups, but not Jersey Shore situation, Westview situation.
I would bet that something has happened and Wanda is like done what she's done to protect like the larger reality. Like she's encapsulating something.
So you think maybe, are you saying something happened maybe in Westview outside of Wanda's control, and she used her powers to contain it?
Yes.
But to do that, she has to, like, for some reason, she has to do what she's doing.
Well, because she's stuck there, so like in order to sort of make that bearable, she's created the reality.
Yeah. And then, I'm okay with that. I think they show a scene where she steals Vision, by the way, from the government. And the guy's like, "Whoa, Vision."
That's a little strange.
Yeah, it was a little strange, but they also said, and this is what really confused me. It's like Vision's will said that he wanted his body to be destroyed and not to be used as a weapon. And I'm like, and they're like, but Wanda didn't want that. Like, wanted to stop that from happening. I'm like, well, the government had him hooked up to a bunch of machinery in their like secret lab in Sword. I feel that Wanda maybe stole his body because she knew that they were trying to unlock him as a weapon. And so that's why she stole his body. Where the current director of Sword is kind of, he's shady. It seemed like he's grounded Monica for some reason, like kind of became in power because Monica wasn't there, right? There's some shade.
Final thoughts, Case?
I'm excited. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like it because it's not punchy, but I kind of like the mystery stuff. I think this is the example of me and you were talking about Mandalorian. And we mentioned a few times, like, well, I watch an episode when it comes out because there's nothing tying each series together. There's no like big plot. It's just like, oh, I'm taking the baby to this planet. Oh, what's the monster of the week? I think Wanda maybe went too extreme on it, but at least did enough where it's like, I'm interested to try to figure out what's happening, right? So I have something, after I watched an episode, I'm like texting my brother to be like, dude, did you see that? Like, this happened. And like, we can do a whole episode talking about WandaVision because it's like a bunch of little things. And it's done well enough that I'm not like bored watching the show. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I think I'm interested to see where the season goes. And I think I really love the acting, mostly by everybody. I think is a really good actor. Like, but I think Paul Bettany's playing awesome, and Elizabeth Olsen's been great. Like, I just think it's top notches in my book. Yourself?
I think I just like the idea that like, I like the mystery thriller. I think that this is like, I think that was one of the problems with the Defender series is that they weren't different enough. I mean, I think they tried to make Jessica Jones like a detective show, but it didn't really work because she's like invulnerable.
And she didn't really detect.
Yeah.
She was like almost like a Batman, where it's like, oh, he's the greatest detective, but all he does is punch things.
Yeah, and then there's like Luke Cage, and then that storyline never really worked out. Daredevil was a little bit of a legal thriller here and there, right?
Yeah.
This is legit, I think, a very different type of like Marvel show.
Right.
And I like it.
I think the thing that's cool too is the fact you're seeing it from other perspectives, right? It's not just, oh, here's what Wanda's doing in the world there. It's like, oh, hey, here's an episode of the people trying to figure out the problem and how they're like, and what they're doing to like do research and to figure it out, and the tests they're running and the science the air quote science they're doing, right? Experiments they're testing. I think that also helps. So it's not just like a big mystery box. It's also like, oh, wait. Oh, cool. They figured this out. That's neat. How's that affect everything else, Where a lot of times in like the movies, it's always like, oh, we're going to follow Captain America around. This is a Captain America story. We don't care about the people around him and how it affects him. Where at least in this, they're showing you how it affects the people around them also, which is pretty dope. I know. I'm excited for next episode. Seal of approval of whatever name of this podcast is. No Life Kings.
It gets our crown of approval.
Ooh. I kind of want to make a crown now and send it to someone. Just someone randomly. I'm not going to send it to any of the actors or the director or the creator or Paul Feig. Just to some one random person. It'd be like, seal of approval, WandaVision.
We'll provide no other details.
Yep. And if you want to be one of those lucky people to get a random crown sent to you, you could email us at podcast@nolifeteens.com with the shipping address, I guess, or a question that you want to answer on the air. Or you can tweet us at
@NLK_podcast.
Or if you want to see beautiful pictures like Thor riding a space shark, you can check out our Instagram at NoLifeKings. That's
a wrap.
A wrap. That's the closing of the issue. That's the final page. Cheers, everyone. No defense. I mean, Brady had to score points. Whoa.
Look, Brady executed. He did what he had to, but there's no way that Tampa Bay could outscore Kansas City without that defense stepping up.
I know that defense was insane. It was one of those, like, I was expecting like a 40 to 30 score or something like that. And even like whenever Brady got his 2 touchdown lead, I'm like, okay, they're gonna drive here and they'll score. I'm like, I'm still I'm iffy on their touchdown at the last drive. But when they got that touchdown at the end of the half, it's going to end so good.